Happy Wednesday, everybody. We are here live with another episode of Test, Fail, Learn, Grow. And I get asked all the time, what is the secret to my success? And when people ask that, I'm just like, there are no secrets. And I don't view myself as that successful. In fact, over the last, I'm going to say 28 years now. I've been saying 25 years for the last 3 years. And now I have to accept the fact that I am 47 years old, and I've been doing this a long time, and I've spent 90% of my life failing. But what separates me from the other people is, number one, I just show up. If you show up, you're 80% ahead of the game and the other people trying to do what you do. And then if you are consistent in testing, failing, learning, and growing, and doing the small things consistently over time, that creates the compound effect of success and turning obstacles into stepping stones and building brick by brick. That is what is going to lead to your success. But we all look at our LinkedIn profiles and we see sold this company on this date, started this company on that date. But the real life happens in the dash. It's just like the cemetery. You go, you're born on this date, you pass on this date, but where does life happen? It's in the middle. So the best part is starting that business with dreams, but those dreams will meet reality. And the exit isn't what you thought it would. You wrap up your whole life in being an entrepreneur and in your business, and then all of a sudden you sell that and you start to figure out, well, what is next? And we've had some amazing guests on the House of Bricks, Test, Fail, Learn, Grow, featuring members of our community that believe in our mission, vision, and values. The most important thing in life is relationships and relationship capital. So the more you invest in others, the more they'll want to invest in you. And of course, I did not introduce myself. My name is Adam House, and I'm the founder of the House of Bricks. And the House of Bricks has become my life story, just continuing to build life brick by brick and inspiring others to do so. And so today, we have a very special guest. I had to ask her permission to banter a little bit back and forth. So our goal on this episode is to have some good banter, healthy banter. And that's a little banter right there. But I'd love to have Paul add Laura to the call. And Laura, welcome.
Hello. Happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. And I know a lot about your story just from our interactions and some of your posts on LinkedIn, but I know you're a world traveler. I look at the things that you're doing versus the craziness of my life. You've been an entrepreneur coach, originally from London. Now you're living in Mexico, and saw you, I think, where else were you? Just in different places all the time. And also the host of the podcast, The Abundant Entrepreneur. So just want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you.
Where were you? Just getting coffee somewhere? I remember the sign.
Say again?
I said you were just traveling somewhere, and I'm like drawing a huge blank. But
I was in Colombia.
Colombia. I knew it was coffee. I was going to say something else they had in Colombia.
Back a mug from there.
You got the mug. I'm still waiting on the coffee that you were going to ship to me.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That seems intentional. But let's jump right in. So, you know, the show is all about testing, failing, learning, and growing. You're not only an entrepreneur, but you help coach and lead other entrepreneurs. So if we were to start at the beginning, what would you see as the big setup, and what did your life look like before things changed?
Yeah, so my life's been a bit of a roller coaster over the last 10 years. I used to work in the corporate world. I was doing that for 15 years. And the last few years of my corporate career, I was in change management. So really looking at the people side of change, the behavioral change. And at that time, I had a lot of health issues. I was stressed, anxious, miserable, didn't feel like I belonged. Plus I had all these physical health issues. And I just made a decision to leave. And I knew that I wanted to work for myself, but I also needed to heal my own health challenges first. So I left, I took some time out. I changed a lot of things in my life at that time. I broke up with my fiance. I sold my house, left the corporate world. all in one go. And I spent some time really understanding how to heal holistically. And I went through a process of doing that for myself and learning a lot along the way. And I started training to become a health coach. So that was all kind of happening. Met a new partner, traveling, moved to Spain. At this point, I wasn't actually like earning an income because I was still training and everything. I was just basically spending my money. And I ended up in a situation through a series of my own choices. I ended up basically broke, homeless, no income, and lost most of my possessions in the space of one day. And so that was my moment. That was my big, like, dark night of the soul, rock bottom, transformational moment. That's really what kind of kicked off my transformation, which has been ongoing since then.
Lot to unpack there. So for the people that are watching now, they have no reason to not stay on and continue to listen. But I want to drill in on a couple of things there. And I get approached by people all the time, kind of in their 45 to 55 range, and they're wondering if now is the time to start a business, and they have a good corporate job, and it doesn't necessarily have to happen by force. Like it seems, situations caused you to do that. But outside of that, like, what was a change in your mindset that even got you to make that transition?
You mean what made me decide to leave corporate?
Yeah.
Or yeah, I was just fed up. I had been unhappy for a long time. I never felt like I fitted in. I would go into organizations and I always like to look at things with a kind of, real fresh pair of eyes, as opposed to how it's always been done. And there was always a lot of resistance to that. And particularly dealing with the HR department. There's very much, I found in the corporate world, we do things like this, and coming in and wanting to do things in a different way, ruffling some feathers wasn't, people didn't really like that. And so it was very interesting because the management team I used to get along really well with, but then the actual HR team that I was kind of part of, not so much, because I was pushing the envelope and doing things a little bit differently. So there was a lot of kind of like tension there. But also I think I've known for a very long time deep down that I'm a free spirit, and I wanted to be independent and work for myself rather than just taking orders from other people and being sort of subject to what other people want. And so it was just really feeling unhappy for a very long time. And then also with all my health issues, it reached a point where it was just kind of like a breaking point, and I just said enough, and I just left. And that was it, really. That was the start of a roller coaster journey.
Yeah, and those roller coasters, right, are obstacles that can be turned into stepping stones. And seeing you today and knowing you and what you're doing, you were able to do that, but it never goes as planned. And so kind of fitting with our model of I wouldn't call that a test. Right? That's like jumping out of the plane with no parachute. And it did not obviously go smoothly. What were some of the big challenges that you faced? And we could define that kind of as failure, but me, I can't process failure mentally. I just have a real hard time understanding it, because I see failure as opportunity to grow. And if that's our mindset, but what were some of the challenges that you faced?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I agree with the failure thing. I see failure as basically, when we say failure, all we really mean is things didn't work out how I wanted them to. Or how I thought they should. That's all it is. So my failure was, I had this life. I was living a very kind of 5-star life. I was flying business class. I was going to Michelin-star restaurants. I was staying in 5-star hotels with my partner at the time. And that was yes, in some ways that was an amazing life, but I still don't necessarily think that was the kind of life that I was meant to to live. But I had this vision, this kind of idea in my mind of what my future was going to look like. And me and my partner were creating a business together, and he was setting things up, and I was looking after the home. And I just had like this kind of like idealistic view of how everything was going to be. And it just got taken away, like literally in one day, out of the blue, unexpected. And so that was my real, that was just the rock bottom moment. I had pretty much everything changed in the space of a day. I was in shock. I had literally no money. You know, when people say, oh, I haven't got any money, I had nothing in my bank account and I had no income. I ended up sleeping on friends' floors, friends' couches, 1 week here, 1 week there. It was incredibly traumatic and very, very stressful, because I was in a genuine survival mode. Like, when you literally don't have any money to buy food and you don't have a home, you are in what I call the genuine survival mode. A lot of people are in this kind of fake survival mode where they're not really in survival, but they're acting like they are. But I was in real survival mode. And so it was incredibly challenging, very painful. At one point, I was about to take my own life, because it was just the situation for me was just so terrible, and I didn't have the resources to deal with it. I wasn't resilient enough at that time. And so that was kind of a really wild time. And the result of me being in that intense state of stress for such a long time, if we're talking months and months, I actually ended up developing fibromyalgia and having a stroke. And so that was another thing that then happened. So it was like one thing after another after another. But I did, when I was kind of couch surfing and floor surfing, I was actually getting really resourceful. And I was kind of forced to, what the alternative was to just sleep on the street or just die. And so there was something within me. It was like spirit just saying, no, you can do it, like, keep going. And so I started to do little bits of work. I started to get really creative using my skills and started to earn a little bit of money. But then once I was getting back on my feet, that's when I had the stroke and the fibromyalgia. And so that set me back. But I also see all of it as a blessing, all of it, because it's taught me so much. I've learned so much, I've grown so much, and it's made me who I am today. And it's made me able to help people in a powerful way. And so I don't do regrets. I'm actually super, super grateful that all of that happened.
Well, that's a great mindset to have. And one of the key words that you said that people ask me all the time is like, how do you build resilience? Well, you have to build resilience authentically through going through tough times. And I believe right now you're walking in your calling, and people always want the palace without the process. But you have to go through the process, and to the degree of difficulty that you're able to overcome, it creates a universal authority to influence and lead others. So you have natural leadership characteristics. And we're both on LinkedIn a lot. Everyone's an expert. Everyone's a guru. Everyone is a coach. Even though they've never had a job, they're coaching other people somehow how to build businesses. So that's what's different about you. I've noticed just in your posts and communication is the authenticity. But the only way to be authentic, to lead others, is you have to have gone through it. And that creates that connection and ability to lead others. So I'm sure there were 1,000 learning opportunities through that process, but what did you think was kind of the most important thing that you learned? You talked about money, you talked about lifestyle, you talked about some tools and skills that you may not have known that you had. Necessity is the mother of invention. So when you're in those situations, there's no other choice. What did you, I guess, learn about yourself? We've talked about what was like the most important thing you learned out of all of those things?
Oh, goodness. I mean, what the first thing I'd say is that it hasn't been, it wasn't like that happened and then I just learnt some stuff and then everything was hunky-dory. Like you said earlier, it's not a linear progression. What that big kind of crisis moment did was it set me on a path of awakening to who I truly am, what I truly want in life, what's important. It was like a very powerful catalyst moment that really just set me on this journey. And I think that, having a rock bottom or a crisis like that, for most people, it's actually necessary. There are some people who go through a lot of personal growth and change without having that rock bottom. But I find, from my own experience and working with many others as well, we need to hit that rock bottom. We need some kind of crisis to kind of really jolt us awake. And really what happened for me was I lost everything. And so one of the things that that came out of that was, when you lose everything, you begin to appreciate everything. So previously I was quite materialistic. I was all about success, like in the traditional sense, achieving stuff, money, material things. That all changed. Like, I don't actually really care about any of that now. Like, I don't really care about achieving things. Like, I love creating a life that I love, but I'm not kind of focused particularly on external things, material things. It's just not my focus, because I realize what's really important. And when you don't have anything, all those attachments have been taken away. And that's the thing. Most people are experiencing stress and anxiety because they're so attached to their things, to their situation, to things having to be a certain way. And that all just got removed. So one of the things really was, yes, learning to appreciate everything and be grateful for everything. Even nowadays, whenever I get into, and I swear this is true, every single night when I get into bed on my nice comfy mattress, I get this wave of like gratitude, because I spent quite a long time sleeping on floors and being very uncomfortable and being on edge all the time. And so just little things like that just give me a lot of joy, and I'm just super grateful for. So I'd say that was like that appreciation and gratitude for everything is one of the things. And I think another thing that was really, really powerful is that going through that experience and actually being able to then get through it, heal myself. Even when I had the stroke, the fibromyalgia, I healed myself again. I started building my business. I've done so many different things. I've succeeded at so many different things, that what that does is it gives you an unwavering faith and trust in yourself. So I don't fear anything. I don't worry about anything. I don't stress about anything. And the reason is, I completely trust myself to be able to handle anything, to navigate anything. And I also believe that the universe has my back as well, which is why I don't get stressed or worried, because I know that everything will just work out and I'll just be able to handle anything. And so I have very high self-esteem. I have high self-confidence and that unwavering trust. And that is probably one of the most powerful things that has come out of it. And also, I really learned who I am, without all the things, without all the people. I've lost friends, family, like over the last few years, so many things have happened, but it's brought me back to myself. And so I love myself. I love spending time with myself. I love who I am. I trust myself. And life is just great. Like, I couldn't wish for anything else. I'm just happy. Yeah. Like, just happy with who I am and what I have and where I am. And I love helping other people to do the same.
So I tell people all the time, the more you acquire, the more it requires from you. So you want to get a big house. Well, now you got to get someone to clean it. You want to get a boat. Now you got to take care of it. You want nice cars. Then you're worried about insurance. So everyone, if you're blessed enough to kind of have those finances, that experience, you start to realize how heavy those things are. So the more you're acquiring, the more it's requiring of things. And the second thing is success is a great way to keep others from really knowing who you are. And so I've gone through versions of this. Just the more success I had, the further you can kind of keep people away. And it's almost an internal fear and self-defense mechanism that you create, as that success builds walls. And if you're fortunate enough to get through the valley, I've been in places where I was looking up at rock bottom, and both, internally in business. And the key is just being able to get out of it and get through it, because not everyone ends up all smiles and happy where you are today. So do you have any advice for people out there that are in that valley experience of how did you get through it?
Well, there's no short or simple answer to that. And I think everybody is different. And I can't really advise people on what to do, because everybody is, like I said, everybody is different. I just hope that, by hearing my story and seeing that I was able to come through all of that and get to a point where I actually really do genuinely love my life, that will actually inspire others and show people what's possible. For me, when I was going through my kind of dark night of the soul, it was seeing other people who had been through that. And I thought, well, they've got through it. And so that was one thing that really helped me to see that anyone can turn their life around. And it gave me that kind of encouragement that I needed. And I think that everyone is different. If you're in a situation where you're absolutely rock bottom, that's going to be different to somebody who's just, feeling a little bit dissatisfied, but they're not rock bottom. And so we're all very different. And I find that when I work with clients, each one is so different. And what's important is self-awareness. Like I always say, all change starts with self-awareness. You can't actually change until you have that self-awareness. Awareness of who you are, awareness of what you want, awareness of your shadow aspects, like awareness of your programming, all of that stuff. The more aware you are, the more you can actually start to make different choices. That is for the precursor to change for me. So it's the most important thing, and everyone is different. And as a coach, I don't advise people. I help them to figure out what's right for them, because it's going to be different for everybody.
It is. And I like the fact that you said self-awareness. So people are asking me, when do I start a business? Should I do this? Like, you really have to recognize what season you're in. And one of the things that I've seen people, like, if rock bottom is actually not a bad place getting to, and it doesn't mean you have to lose everything, but whatever you're trying to get to, the faster you get to rock bottom, you can start climbing. But out of fear, we fight, we hold on. And you can't grab onto your future if you're holding on to your past. So people want to step forward, but they're looking back. And so the faster you can get to rock bottom, the faster you can get to kind of that next stage. So I know you would never ask for people to connect with you, but tell us a little bit about your coaching business. And if people do want to learn more, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually don't like calling myself a coach, because everybody calls themselves a coach now. Most of them aren't actually doing coaching.
Right.
So I like to say that I'm a creation partner, because essentially what I do is I work with entrepreneurs and I help them to create a life that they love, whatever that might look like for them. And it's going to be different for everybody. Most people, what they think they want isn't what they actually want. which means that if you start working with someone to create what they say they want and it's not what they truly want in their heart, it's an absolute waste of time, energy, and money. So I always try and get really, really clear with people. What is it you truly want? And interestingly enough, every single human wants the same thing, ultimately, which is to be fulfilled, to feel alive, to feel at peace, to feel joyful. That's all that anybody really wants. And so how we get there is going to be different, but that's ultimately what I help people to do. So sometimes it's working more on the business side of things, especially if it's solopreneurs, because I have a lot of experience with different businesses. And other times it's people who are more, they've had all of the success, they've made the money, they've built the big business, but they're unfulfilled, they're stressed, they're anxious, there's something that's just not feeling good for them. So it kind of depends. But yeah, it's ultimately being a creation partner and helping people to improve their lives and live a life that they love.
So there was one word you left out that you said multiple times in the beginning, and I'm glad it wasn't included in what you said there, which was happiness, right? We're promised the pursuit of happiness, and happiness, I don't even really know what that is, but
everyone really does.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is that?
It's
but
a
it is
term. It's like, see, when I talk with people say, oh, I'm not happy. And so one of the things I do is I ask a lot of questions. Any good coach will ask lots of questions. So what does it actually mean? Well, what I found out is that it means people want to feel at peace. They want to feel fulfilled. They want to feel that sense of aliveness. They want to feel joyful. That's what people are looking for. But we kind of use this umbrella term of happiness. And that's really what I think it means.
Yeah, 100%. And people confuse happiness with fulfillment, right? You're living a fulfilled life. That's really what people want. And the subsets of that are the other things that you're helping them with. So where can people connect with you? And also, if they want to subscribe to your podcast or listen to it, where can they find that?
Yeah, so I mean, if people are on LinkedIn, they can find me there and connect with me or send me a message. I also have a website, which is just laurajanebolton.com. The link for that is also on my LinkedIn profile. And the Abundant Entrepreneur podcast, that is, there's links through to that on my website and also on my LinkedIn. It's available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for joining today. All of our goals have been accomplished that we set. I'm kidding.
We need to do another one of these, just talking about goals.
Just talking about goals. We have goals in the House of Bricks community. In fact, we're jumping over to our community call now. And if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, we're featuring great entrepreneurs, best in class. I won't call them coaches, creation partners. We do have some coaches in our community, but the House of Bricks community is based on relationship capital. It's the most valuable capital. And so subscribe to our newsletter if you want to learn more about the community. There'll be information in there as well. But want to thank everybody for joining. See you every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And we'll see everybody next week. Thanks, Laura.
Thanks.